Morning students, I hope you are all doing good. Let us see what we are going to discuss in today's class.
Good morning, ma. In previous class we have completed periodic classification, and now we will go through trends of physical properties of elements along periods and groups in periodic table. Those are called periodic properties. In that periodic properties, our first one is atomic radius. Atomic radius is also related to atomic size. Okay, let us see now. First, what is the definition of this atomic radius or atomic size? We know that atoms are considered as spheres, in that nucleus is present here at the center, and this is outermost shell. So many shells might be there. Now I am considering outermost shell, and this is the representation of atom. Sphere, center has nucleus, that is the representation of atom. Now the definition is distance from center of the nucleus to the outermost shell. This is called outermost shell. Distance from center of the nucleus to the outermost shell is called atomic radius. Generally, for circle we will say radius. Distance from center to the outermost point on circle is called radius, like that we will say. Like that here also, distance from center of the nucleus to the outermost shell is called atomic radius or atomic size. Distance from center of the nucleus to the outermost shell is called atomic radius. Now, units for this atomic radius: angstroms, nanometers or picometers. Conversions are also important, so note down the conversions now. One angstrom is equal to 10 power minus 8 centimeters is equal to 10 power minus 10 meters. One nanometer is equal to 10 power minus 9 meter, 10 power minus 7 centimeter. One picometer is equal to 10 power minus 10 centimeter, 10 power minus 12 meter. These are the conversions of these angstroms, nanometers and picometers into centimeters and meters. Okay, and what is the definition of atomic radius? Distance from center of the nucleus to the outermost shell is called atomic radius. Units: angstroms, nanometers or picometers. That is okay. But the problem is here, simply we define the definition by using the diagram, all those things okay. But can we consider one atom separately? Out of total periodic table, 118 elements, 112 elements let us consider. 112 elements are there. we cannot find these 112 elements in their free state except inert gases. And those are also gases, those are not in solid state. Is it correct or not? Then how can extent we can find the atomic radius accurately? Definition wise, okay. Distance from center of the nucleus to the outermost shell is called atomic radius. It is easily defined by theoretically. Coming to practically, how can we find the atomic radius of an atom? Suppose what we have to do, we have to take one atom and we have to keep one scale. We have to find diameter. In that, half is nothing but radius. Like that we have to find. But can we take the atom separately? One atom separately can we take? No chance. Even if you are able to take, can we apply that scale? No. Because atom is very small. Okay. We can understand till now also we are not able to see the atom. That much very small. Then for that, how can we measure? Those are the problems for us to measure the atomic radius. Definition wise, okay, but the problem is to find the atomic radius of an atom is little bit difficult task only. That's why scientists they found one way, that is X-ray diffraction techniques. By using X-ray diffraction techniques, scientists tried to find the atomic radius of all the elements, and they succeeded also. But in this condition, they are going to define 3 types of atomic radius. Okay, why they have found 3 types of atomic radius, you will come to know. Now, what are the 3 types of atomic radius? Let us see. There are 3 types of atomic radius. First one, covalent radius. Second one, metallic radius. Third one, van der Waals radius. First one, covalent radius. Second one, metallic radius. And third one, van der Waals radius. Now our duty is, from everything radius will be same only, but why they defined covalent radius, metallic radius and van der Waals radius, let us come to know. Now I am going to see that first one. Covalent radius. Generally, elements like hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, bromine, etc. These elements cannot be existed individually. Means in the state of atomic. In atomic state, these are all not existed. Maximum these are all non-metals are not existed in atomic state. H is present in the form of H2, O is present in the form of O2, N, N2, Cl, Cl2, Br, Br2. Like that only in our universe, separately H atoms, oxygen atoms, nitrogen atoms we cannot find. If you are not able to find, even if you take group also, if you are not able to find, how can we say one atom radius, how can we find that one? It is not at all possible. Is it correct or not? Then in what form they have existed, from that only we have to obtain the atomic radius. In which form the molecules are existed, is it okay? From that only we have to obtain atomic radius. Now these are all existed in the form of covalent molecules. Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, bromine, these are all existed in the form of covalent molecules. From that we are going to obtain the radius of these atoms. That's why this is called covalent radius. Is it okay? Now coming to the definition of this one. Let us consider H2 molecule. This is H2 molecule. When we come to H2 molecule, this is nucleus of first atom, this is nucleus of second atom, both are hydrogens only. And this is the bond pair. This is the bond pair. Scientists, by using X-ray diffraction techniques, by using these X-ray diffraction techniques, they are able to find the distance between the nuclei of two atoms. The distance between the nuclei of two atoms is called internuclear distance. Distance between nuclei of two atoms is called internuclear distance, represented by small d. Sir, how they are able to find the distance between the nuclei of these two atoms? Okay, that is called internuclear distance. That one I will say. First thing is, these atoms, whatever the things I informed to you, those atoms are not existed in the form of atoms. They are existed in the form of covalent molecules only. From that covalent molecules, we are going to obtain the radius. That's why this is called covalent radius. Okay, now covalent molecule, H2 molecule I have taken. This H2 molecule contains two hydrogen atoms which are bonded with each other. And scientists, by using X-ray diffraction techniques, they are able to find the distance between the two nuclei, which is called as internuclear distance, represented by small d. Then covalent radius is half of the internuclear distance. Covalent radius is half of the internuclear distance between the molecule. Covalent radius is defined as half of the internuclear distance between the molecule. Okay, see, half correctly. This is called covalent radius R. This is also covalent radius R. So covalent radius CR is equal to D by 2. Covalent radius is equal to D by 2. Actually, we have to find distance from nucleus to outermost shell. Is it correct? But there is no chance of hydrogen atom or oxygen atom existed separately. Then what we have done? We have considered the hydrogen molecule. In hydrogen molecule, the molecule is formed by the overlapping of one atom and another atom. Atomic orbitals of one atom with another atom. That means the atoms are not exactly touching with each other. Slightly they are coming into one atom into another atom, like this. Exactly, the atoms are not in contact with each other. If they are in contact with each other, exactly that internuclear distance, half is nothing but our covalent radius. That radius exact value correct only. But they are slightly overlapping with each other, like this. For this, if you find internuclear distance and make it half, slight value we are going to get smaller value. than the original value. Whatever covalent radius we are using, we are finding by using d/2 formula. Whatever the covalent radius we are getting by using the formula d/2, it is slightly smaller than the original value. It is slightly smaller than the original value. That's why even though it is smaller than original value, no scientist is there to find the accurate value of covalent radius, because first the atoms are not existed. Exactly, if you want to find the exact distance, we want to find one atom separately. We have to extract one atom separately, and for that we have to find the distance between nucleus and outermost shell. But it is not at all possible. Hydrogen atom, immediately if you are able to get it out, immediately it will react with other to form a compound, because they are not at all stable in atomic state. That's why this is only considered as our exact value. Whatever the value we are getting from d/2, that is only considered as our exact value, because no scientist is there to get the exact value of covalent radius. If you want to get, that atomic radius. If you want to get that atomic radius exactly or accurate value, first we want to identify the individual atom. Okay, but this hydrogen atom, oxygen atom, nitrogen, these are all not existed in the form of atomic state. That's why we cannot obtain the exact value, slightly smaller than the original value. That is the meaning of this one. Now, what is the covalent radius definition? Covalent radius is half of the internuclear distance between the molecule. Okay, slightly smaller than the original value. Covalent radius is equal to d/2, where d is called internuclear distance, that is also called bond length. Internuclear distance is also called bond length, d. Half of that bond length is called covalent radius. Okay, ma. Now, scientists, how did they find the internuclear distance by using X-ray diffraction techniques? Let us consider one container. Contains hydrogen molecules like this. This container is exposed to X-rays continuously. These X-rays are going to be fallen on the nucleus. Actually, between the nucleus, electrons are there, but electrons are very small. Even they are revolving with very high speed. That's why we are treating almost atom is like empty except this nucleus. This nucleus is strong region, this nucleus is strong region. That only we can think. Electrons are not considered because they are very small, and even they are revolving with very high speed. Okay, now let us see. Observe here, these X-rays are going to be fallen on this molecule. The X-rays which are fallen on the nucleus, they are going to be reflected and they are going to be on sensor. They are going to be fallen on sensor. Is it okay? So on sensor we can see the values regularly. When we are going to see the values regularly, see this X-ray is fallen here and it is diffracted. This X-ray is fallen here and it is diffracted. Remaining X-rays, they will just pass through. straightly. The X-rays which are reflected, they are going to be fallen on our sensor. Observe, this X-ray and this X-ray are going to hit the sensor with a distance. This distance is there. That is the distance between the two nuclei. Correct or not? The X-ray is going to be fallen on this nucleus and this X-ray is going to be fallen on this nucleus. Sir, how can we recognize these X-rays exactly they are fallen on the nucleus? Continuously it is exposed. Some X-rays they are passing without any deflection also. Some X-rays which are going to hit, definitely out of 1000 rays, one ray and this one ray will hit and it will reflect or not. Is it correct or not? So the reflected X-ray are fallen on sensor. On sensor we can see the distance between these two X-rays. That distance is nothing but d, because that is only distance between the nuclei. Remaining X-rays they are just simply passing through the atom, molecule. Okay, then are we able to find the d value or not? We are able to find the d value. That is only internuclear distance or bond length. At once if you are able to find the bond length, just we can make mathematically half of that value. Covalent radius is half of the internuclear distance between the molecule. But scientists they have only told that it is slightly smaller than the original value because the atoms are overlapping with each other. That's why they will come little bit closer. They are not in exact contact with each other. Slightly they will come closer. Because of that, distance between the nuclei slightly decreases and half of the internuclear distance also slightly decreases. So covalent radius what we are going to find by using X-ray diffraction techniques, it is slightly lower than the original value. This is about covalent radius. Okay, man. Now second one, metallic radius. Till now we have seen non-metal atoms which are existing in the form of molecules. Now we are going to consider metallic radius in metal atoms. In metals. Okay, let us consider, for example, sodium. Sodium electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. The third shell electron present in sodium, it is ready to be donated out, because by donating that one, sodium will get stable neon gas configuration. So it is ready to be given out. It's loosely held towards the sodium. That is called free electron. Okay, now see the sodium. This sodium has one free electron. I am representing as dot. Another sodium has one free electron. I am representing it as dot. The electron which is present in first sodium spins in clockwise direction. That means electron is like this. It spins it around itself. We know that electron spins around itself and it will revolves around the nucleus also. Correct? Now two sodium, like this, so many sodium atoms are there. I am going to consider sodium metal in the block. In the block, sodium atoms are nearby each other. Correct? Now one sodium free electron spins in clockwise direction. Another sodium free electron spins in anti-clockwise direction. This sodium electron spins in clockwise direction and this sodium electron spins in anti-clockwise direction. Like that, nearby sodium atoms, they will maintain the free electron spin in opposite directions. Then this is developed by some magnetic moment with north pole, and this is developed by some magnetic moment with south pole. For example, only I am telling magnetic moment plus m, here this is minus m. both are in opposite directions na, magnitude is same but both are in opposite directions na, that's why I told simply north pole and south pole for your understanding purpose only. Same here also, the electron which spins in clockwise direction is behaving like a north pole magnet, and this is spinning in anti-clockwise direction is behaving like a south pole magnet. So one sodium atom and another sodium atom, free electrons are maintaining opposite magnetic fields. Because of that, attraction is there between those free electrons, then the sodium atoms will be closely present. The sodium atoms are closely present because of the attraction between the free electrons. Okay, now the attraction which keeps the sodium atoms nearby each other. Actually there is no chemical bond between sodium atoms. One interatomic attraction. Interatomic attraction is developed between free electrons. This is because of opposite spin. Okay, this electron spins in clockwise direction and this electron spins in anti-clockwise direction. Because of opposite spins between sodium atoms, interatomic attraction will be developed. That interatomic attraction is called metallic bond. As these are atoms, that is called metallic bond. Okay ma? But these interatomic attractions are not stronger than covalent bond. Here completely orbitals are overlapping with each other. This is strong bond. This is simply because of opposite spins, sodium atoms are coming nearby each other. That is only. I think you are understanding ma. This is simply interatomic attraction only. This is not stronger than, this is weaker than actual chemical bond. Chemical bonds are covalent bonds, ionic bonds ma. And coordinate covalent bond also. Okay, so this metallic bond present between sodium atoms will be weaker than covalent bond. Because of that, these sodium atoms they are little bit loosely held with each other. These two sodium atoms, like that, next to two sodium atoms. Don't think that any chemical bond is present here. I told already that is called metallic bond because of opposite spins of free electrons. That's why only till now I explained clearly. Okay, now distance between these two nuclei of sodium atoms is called internuclear distance. Which are present very nearby each other because of metallic bond. Between them we are able to find the distance between the nucleus, that is called internuclear distance. Half of that internuclear distance is called metallic radius. Half of that internuclear distance is called metallic radius. How we can find the internuclear distance? Already I told, by using X-ray diffraction techniques. Like that technique only here also it will be followed. Okay. Now what is the definition of this metallic radius? Metallic radius equal to half of the internuclear distance between the metal atoms. Half of the internuclear distance between the metal atoms is called metallic radius. But here these atoms are present with weak metallic bond when compared to covalent bond. So these are held loosely only. From this, if you are getting value metallic radius, definitely that metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. Is it correct ma? Because here circles are coming, approaching with each other and overlapping with each other also. So distance will be decreased between the nucleus. But here they are held loosely only. Because of that, slightly metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. So till now two types of radii we completed ma. Relation between them is metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. I hope you are understanding ma, everyone. First one, covalent radius. Why we defined these many radii because individual atoms are not existed for non-metals. Next, coming with anyways non-metals we discuss separately, na? So metals also we discuss separately because of interparticular attractions. Is it okay? So by using this covalent radius and metallic radius, we can find the radius of almost all the atoms, but the atoms which are not involved in metallic bond or covalent bond or even any sort of bond, those are called inert gases. Okay, for them we have to define one more radius, that is only called third type of radius, van der Waals radius. Okay ma, that one we are going to see now. Before that, what is the relation between metallic radius and covalent radius? This is metallic radius is every time greater than covalent radius. Just observe carefully. And what about that metallic bond? Everything it is clearly explained. Please, if you have any doubts, you can ask me, no problem. Okay. And now we will continue with van der Waals radius. Let us see the third type, that is van der Waals radius. Maximum this van der Waals radius is useful for inert gases because they are not involved in any sort of bond. So they are existed as separate atoms. But one atom we cannot take separately and we cannot measure with the help of scale. That is very difficult. So let us consider how we are going to find the atomic radius in case of, that means van der Waals radius in case of inert gases. I am taking here helium gas. This is nucleus and this one outermost shell, electrons, 2 electrons. This is nucleus and these are outermost shell electrons. So this is considered as one atom and this is considered as one atom. Any gas contains their atoms which are moving in random directions. They are not in fixed position. Continuously that gaseous state atoms are moving from one place to another place. That is because of van der Waals forces. That is because of van der Waals forces. So because of that van der Waals forces, these two atoms are approaching each other. They are not involved in bond. Okay, now these two atoms are approaching with each other. See carefully. Helium gas is taken and it is exposed to X-rays. X-rays are coming in this direction. Like this. Okay, now when these two atoms are here and here, this X-ray is going to hit and it is recorded. This X-ray is going to hit here and it is going to be recorded. Next, when these two atoms are coming closer, see, once distance between these two, you will get no problem. See, distance between these two is nothing but these two X-rays. Distance between these two, internuclear distance, is nothing but this distance between the X-rays. These are now a little bit far away from each other. When they are coming closer, these X-rays are going to hit and they are going to be recorded. Like that, when these atoms are approaching with each other, the distance is continuously decreasing on the screen. On the sensor, the distance is first initially this is at 4. Correct? 4 it will show. Next, they will come closer now. Then it will show 2. They will come furthermore close. They will show 1. Finally, they will hit with each other. After hitting with each other, they will move away back. Means after hitting with each other, they will move back. When they are moving back, again distance between them increases. So this 1 become again 2, 4, 5 like that. Is it correct or not? So two atoms are coming away from each other. They are reaching. While they are reaching nearby each other, distance between the nuclei decreases. Is it okay? Decreases. And finally they are collided with each other. That is the minimum value. Again they will move away because they are not involved in bond. Again they will come away from each other. At that time distance between them increases. Scientists, they will consider the minimum value. Scientists, they will consider the minimum value on the sensor and they are taking it as internuclear distance. That minimum value is considered as internuclear distance. That is nothing but at that time only, at that minimum value only, the two particles are in contact with each other like that they thought. But actually that collision time is very small. The particles, they will come closer and they will collide with each other. Exactly at collision, if you are able to find the distance, that is exact distance only, that internuclear distance. But even X-rays are also not able to find that exact collision distance. At the time of collision, even X-rays are not able to find the even full day. If this helium is exposed to X-rays also, we are not able to find the exact value of that collision distance. Why? That collision time is very small, 10 power minus 9, 10 power minus 10 second. Within 10 power minus 10 second, again they will collide and they will go back. That much fast the collisions will be taken place between the gas molecules. Is it okay? So scientists, they are not able to find the exact collision distance between internucleus. Are you understanding, ma? Exactly at the time of collision, they are not able to find. See, this is the collision. At this exactly collision time, they are not able to find the internuclear distance because it is not possible for X-rays also. Then this is the minimum distance to be maintained at the time of collision. This is only recorded on the sensor. That is only taken as internuclear distance. Here, distance between the nucleus is considered as internuclear distance, but it is slightly greater than exact value. Is it correct or not? This distance is slightly greater than exact value because they are little bit far away from each other. But you can ask a doubt, sir, at the time of collision itself they can find us, sir, like that. Okay, if those are steel balls like that, we can keep steel balls nearby each other and we can find them. But those are not bigger particles, na? Those are very small particles. Even X-rays are moving with the velocity of light. X-rays are moving with almost velocity of light. They are not able to find the collision time. Then you can understand how much faster the collision will be taken place by the gas molecules and they will revert back. That's why the minimum distance, this one, is only considered as internuclear distance. And half of that internuclear distance is called van der Waals radius. But this extra is there, na? That one we are getting it as value. We cannot do anything because no one scientist is going to find the exact value because that collision time, it is very small. Because of that collision time is very small, even X-rays are not able to recognize the particles which are at collision time. That's why they are going to take this one as only our value for van der Waals radius. Okay, so the internuclear distance D, half of that internuclear distance is called van der Waals radius. Half of that internuclear distance is called van der Waals radius. It is okay, but actual value is lower than our experimental value. Is it correct or not? Because the collision time is very small. Till now I explained that one only. So the collision time is very small. We cannot recognize the collision time exactly like this. That's why this is only considered as minimum distance, and half of that internuclear distance is called van der Waals radius. Okay. It is slightly greater than original value. It is slightly greater than original value, so automatically it is greater than metallic radius also. At least metallic radius, they are coming nearby each other, correct or not? But in van der Waals radius, they are little bit far away. That's why already we have seen that metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. Now van der Waals radius is greater than metallic radius. So the relation between these three types of radii is van der Waals radius is greater than metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. As the gas molecules are present with van der Waals forces, van der Waals is the name of the scientist, okay, and we are going to depend, or we are going to find the internuclear distance depend on that van der Waals forces only, that is called van der Waals radius. This is maximum useful for finding the atomic radius in inert gases. So all the types of elements are covered: metal atoms, non-metal atoms, and inert gases also. These are the three types of atomic radii. And the relation between three types of atomic radii is van der Waals radius is greater than metallic radius is greater than covalent radius. Okay, ma? Remember carefully this relation, and I hope you are clear about types of atomic radius also. And in today's class we have seen that what about the types of atomic radius and how they are related. Total 3 types of atomic radius we have studied. Those are first one covalent radius, second one metallic radius, and third one van der Waals radius. And definition wise, as well as how we are going to find the atomic radius in all these 3 conditions, everything it was clarified and even clearly explained, I hope. Okay, by this explanation you are very clear about the 3 types of atomic radius, ma? And next class, in today's class we have completed all these things. First physical property, that is atomic radius, definition and the types of atomic radius we have seen. In next class we will see how this atomic radius will be varied in group and period. That one is simple only. Within 10 minutes we can complete that variation of atomic radius in groups and periods. The main important thing is here we have to know the definition correctly. If you know the definition correctly for a physical property, then easily we can recognize what happened to that physical property in groups and periods. Okay, ma? I hope you are clear about today's class. We will continue this variation of atomic radius in groups and periods in next class. Okay, thank you all, have a nice day.